The Disney Plus Hulu HBO Max bundle. The ultimate bundle at an unbelievable price. Starting at $19.99 a month. On Disney Plus, go behind the scenes with Taylor Swift in the end of an era.
Every single one of us all clicked together.
Battle it out with The Roses on Hulu.
Things are getting a little out of hand.
Well, you think?
And don't miss The Conjuring, Last Rites on HBO Max.
I don't know how to protect you this time.
All these and more streaming this month. Plans starting at $19.99 a month. Terms apply. Visit Disney Plus Hulu HBO Max bundle.com for details.
This episode is presented by State Farm. Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like needing the protection of an offensive guard on the football field, but getting an elementary school crossing guard. Sure, they're both guards, but you can only trust one to keep your quarterback safe when the game is on the line. So don't settle for just any insurance when there's State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Here's my 30-second story with Guinness. As soon as my sister and I get home for the holidays, we don't even unpack. We head straight to our pub. The bartender already knows our order, Guinness and fries. We laugh all night, catch up with old friends, and walk home with faces sore from smiling. It's one of my favorite nights of the year. That was my 30-second story with Guinness.
Guinness Draft Stout. Please enjoy responsibly. Imported by Diageo Beer Company, USA, New York, New York.
At LinkedIn, we know hiring is a big deal for your small business. Sometimes it can feel a little overwhelming. LinkedIn uses data that you can't find anywhere else to give you the best candidates, all so you can feel confident you're hiring the best person for the job. And even a little hiring bliss. See why 86% of small businesses who post a job on LinkedIn get a qualified candidate within a day. Post a job for free at linkedin.com/achieve. LinkedIn, your next great hire is here.
Every who down in Who Newville liked the holidays a ton. But where to get great prices on gifts, they had no idea. None. They searched and they searched for great gifts under $25. Gifts for spouses and friends and even their toddlers. When suddenly one who shouted, Walmart has what you want, knowing they have Lego, Tree Hut, and no prices to flaunt. So they enjoy the holiday season as Who's often do. Cheering and shouting, Walmart has incredible gifts. Who knew? Find gifts they'll love under $25 at Walmart.
Hey there, Duke fans. Welcome to DBR Podcast, Duke Basketball Roundup, episode number 776. We are coming to you like 10 minutes, at least for Jason, 10 minutes after Duke takes down Florida in an instant classic, 77-76. We're here to talk about it. I'm Donald Wine. I'm your host for this episode. I watched this game in real time. I waited for my friend Jason Evans to watch it. He was like 20 minutes behind me. And then as soon as he was done, we're jumping on here to record. So we got vibes to talk about in addition to everything else. Jason, first of all, how you feeling?
Oh, man. I feel a lot better after Isaiah hit the shot and Maliq got the deflection. That's for sure. Donald, the basket on the right hand, like looking at your screen, the basket on the right-hand side, good basket. Basket on the left-hand side, bad basket.
Bad basket. Yeah, we were talking about
terrified. I was terrified that we might go to overtime and we might be forced to play on the bad basket. That would not have worked out. No.
Yeah, it's weird how that worked out because usually the left basket is the good basket for at least for us in Cameron. But Jason,
apparently these two teams enjoyed not playing in front of their coach, not playing in front of their bench, because when they were on the other side, they were great. But when they were right there next to John Shire and Todd Golden, did not work out very well for them.
I mean, they're intimidating guys, so I would assume that these guys wanted to make sure that he played well on the other end of the court, which means they were away from them. Jason, let's first get into headlines. I know you had a couple, but I got the bulk of them. So give me your first two headlines.
Well, Bart Hopper came in. It's not really a headline as much as an observation. He said, Duke is now in first place in the ACC and the SEC. Is worth noting that our Devils are 3-0. I think it's 3-0. Yeah. Texas, Arkansas, Florida. We're 3-0 against the vaunted SEC. So, Bart, thanks for pointing that out. And then I just want to mention, I'm not sure how many people sent us this headline because they are still pouring in. The inbox is like going crazy. But we got at least two. I think maybe it is even three. What can Brown do for you? The answer, of course, is he can deflect an inbounds pass.
He can deflect anything. And it's funny you mentioned that, Jason, because for those of you who get to our inbox, dbrpodcast@gmail.com, I'm sure we're going to get a ton of headlines after we are finished with this episode and as we go on. But one of the very first ones that came in was one from Matthew Green, who said, "What can Brown do for you? Brown delivers for Devils in an instant classic." And Jason, I think this was an instant classic. Let me give you a couple other ones that I found, again, in the short time we had to review them. Jared Strauss listened to the last podcast and recognized that it was the birth date of Thriller. And Jared Strauss's headline was, "Thriller, Florida wants to be starting something, but Duke says beat it." Jared, if any of you do a Thriller link, it's always going to get mentioned on the show. I promise, at least by me. That is my birth date. That is my kid.
Oh my God, that is so good by Jared.
Perfect.
It is just, I mean, drop the mic right now. Just boom.
It's not that we gave you homework, but he did the homework anyway. Jared, thank you so much for that. And that's a great gift for me. Dawson Klein wrote, "The moment got bigger and Isaiah Evans delivered. Duke downs Gators in gutsy fashion." Jason, I have a couple more here. Jacob Smith, who is a first-timer, first time submitting a headline, and it was a good one. "Defending champs versus Duke. Blockbuster event as Showtime Slim sends Gators swimming back to the swamp." I thought that was great. And Courtney Kruger, it was a longer one. And Jason, I don't like the longer ones, but this one I think makes a lot of sense. Courtney Kruger wrote, "The Gators just kept chomping, but the Devils D kept stomping, and their O kept romping till they earned a signature win." I love that one. And Jason, as we get into this game, we're not going to talk about the good yet. I just want to talk about the vibes. And I want to start with you with this question. As we kind of alluded to in the preview, and as they kind of have been doing on social media, it was a blackout tonight. And the camera crazies were in full effect. Almost everybody in the camera crazy in the lower bowl was in black. Even the parents were in black, which I think was great. The team wore black, which for what I think was, someone out there will correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's the first time we have worn black at home. If not, we've had to go way, way back for that, because we've worn gray, we've worn blue, we've worn white, but I don't think we've worn black, at least to my knowledge, in Cameron in a very long time, if ever. But did you like the blackout effect of Cameron?
I will say, even though I knew it was coming, even though in my head I had it, at the start of the game, I was a little bit like, wait, this is in
Which
Cameron?
team am I rooting for? Yeah.
Wait, who? What? My wife comes in and she goes, wait, is Duke? She's like, is Duke in black or white? I said, they're in black. And she goes, because that other team looks like they're wearing Duke's uniforms. I was like, sweetie, there's orange. And I'm
it's not like Florida went with the blues. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not like Florida went with blue or orange or something like that to differentiate.
Yeah, but I like it. And look, I know from anecdotal evidence and from talking to people that the players like wearing black, that they think it has a very distinctive look. Whatever the players want is fine. They want to wear pink. I don't care. You just keep on beating quad one opponents, and I am perfectly fine. You can wear orange and red polka dots for all I care.
Quad one opponents who happen to be defending national champions. We can beat them anytime. It was the first time a defending national champion, had come to Cameron since 1989 when Kansas did it. So this is a long time coming for that. I will say I really like the blackout. It's not something that I want to see every game. And I know that, Jason, I know a lot of people out there don't like the black jerseys and think there's a curse on the black jerseys. I love the black jerseys. I love that we wear them, and I love that we are methodical about when we wear them. So if we do a blackout like once, a year or something like that, okay, cool. I'm cool with that. But I would rather, go with the blue and stuff like that. But I think the black jerseys are reserved for these big moments, and this was a big moment. The upstairs said, look, guys, we pay too much to these university. We'll wear what we want. But the students were all in on it, and I loved the fact that the students were in on it. The parents were in on it, like the people on the other side right behind the benches were all in on it. The only people in that lower bowl that weren't in black were the Florida fans, which showed up, and credit to them and credit to their team for giving us a hell of a game.
Yeah, no question about it. And look, let's go ahead. Let's get into the good. And we got to start
real quick before we get into that.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So I want to shout out a couple people because I watched this game, Jason, at a bar just down the street from me in DC, and I was watching with my good friend Cynthia Liu. So hi, Cynthia. She's a listener of the podcast, and we were talking about this, and she still is incredulous that I have this pod and that she's going to be able to listen to her name being mentioned at this. But we watched the game together. She was in town, and I said, let's watch the game. And we were at a bar where my new friend, Sam Berlin, who is a bartender there, but also is moonlighting there, basically.
Wait. Hold on. Are you shouting at a bartender to get free drinks?
No, I paid my tab, but she is a Duke alum. And I met her. Funny enough, Jason, to bring this to football, I went to this bar to watch the Duke Cal game, which was at like 10:45 at night, 11 o'clock at night. And I walk into this bar, and the bar is like, "I'm sorry, sir, we can only show the Duke game in this area because our bartender is a Duke alum." And I was like, point her out. She happened to have just graduated from Duke, and we made good friends. We had an event there like a week later, and so she was behind the bar for that as well. And so shout out to Sam. She takes great care of us and made sure that she was watching the game as well. But it was a great vibe for us to watch the game. Me and Cynthia watching together, but also Sam being able to do her job, but also be able to check in from time to time. And boy, was it an instant classic, Jason. Let's get into the good. I interrupt you, so I'll let you lead with the good. It feels like there's a lot of good and some stuff to improve on, but let's start with the good stuff and give me what you got.
Well, I mean, look, the biggest good, I think, for Duke fans who have a little tiny bit of trauma left over from last season. That was an incredible season, but it felt like virtually every time we were in a single possession game, the Duke couldn't pull out the win. Well, ta-da! That curse is broken on this season. Duke finally finds themselves. Look, the Arkansas game, there was possession pressure in the Arkansas game as well. That was a tie game with like 3 or 4 minutes left or something like that. But this was really serious. I mean, like, you're literally down with 30 seconds left in this contest. So that's as much possession pressure as is possible. And Duke pulls it out. They not only get the huge monster 3 from Isaiah on a really nice play, by the way. I mean, that's a play Duke runs a lot, where essentially the ball handler becomes the screener with Cam Boozer. And by the way, there was no one watching that game that expected anything but Cam to take a shot. So for Duke to go, no, the better shot is Isaiah open from 3. Even though Isaiah's 0 of 7 from 3, that's still the better shot. I love that. And I think that's a smart way for Duke to be playing. But for us to get that single possession win, both, by the way, at the offensive end with the execution on that open 3-pointer for Isaiah, and at the defensive end with the double team that forces the turnover, and then the subsequent play a couple moments later as time's about to expire where Maliq Brown gets the deflection on the inbounds pass. Jordan Brenner, our friend of the podcast, Jordan Brenner, who's been on this pod with us many times. We're going to have him back on in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I was about to say, we got to have him on in the next couple of weeks. So.
Yeah, Jordan sent me a text, and he's like, is there any better defense than Maliq Brown deflecting an inbounds? But he's like, couldn't you see? You could see that one coming a mile. I was like, yes, I could see that coming a mile away. That it was so typical that Maliq Brown would get that deflection, and it's the perfect moment for it because by the time the ball lands, the game is over.
I was gonna say again, watching the vibes in the arena when the ball is deflected in the air. You see John Shire start walking towards the end of the bench, just clapping his hands. And it's almost like someone had to be like, "Yo, coach, the game's over. You gotta go shake Golden's hand over there." And he's like, "Oh, right." And he just kind of turned back towards the middle of the court. But you could see how tied up in that particular moment he was. But again, like you said, going back to Slim's 3 was just a clutch play. It was a well-executed play. And thankfully, right, because we had some well-executed plays last year that didn't merit, didn't end in a made basket for us or what we needed to do to win. So for that to be a well-executed play that gave us the reward of Slim hitting the 3, I think was great. It was pure. It wasn't like it rolled around the rim and you had to kind of think about maybe it's going to roll out. It just went, swoosh through the net. And I loved it. Jason, I want to talk about one thing, and I want to bring in Chuck Westmoreland, who emailed us, and he didn't write a headline, but he said this: Jason and Donald would say, "We love 10-5-5 performances. Big Pat, can I interest you in a 10-5-5-5?" Yes, Pat. Yes, Big Pat, you can. You absolutely can. 11 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and 5 blocks. Keep in mind, Jason, we had 11 blocks in this game. We'll talk about that. We're going to save that part. We're just bottle that. Save that. Let's just talk about Big Pat. Man, he was everywhere. And it felt like there was a couple of moments, and I felt like he got kind of slighted in a couple of these calls that he had on defense, because I thought he had played excellent positional defense and was keeping guys in front of him. This was a physical game, and I felt like the intensity that was part of this game, he matched it from the minute we stepped on the floor. I don't know if this is the play, Jason, but he hit the first 3 again. This is the trend now. This is like 2 games in a row he's done this. But he also, again, was all over the place on defense, and on offense, it felt like he was making passes. He was getting open for good looks. He was taking a 3 confidently, and yeah, he didn't hit all of them, but he was taking them confidently and making it where it was almost like chess. When Slim hits a 3, everyone's like, yeah, sure. He's going to hit 3s. He's going to shoot 3s. That's his job. When Big Pat shoots a 3 and he makes one, it puts that question mark in the opponent's mind of, do we have to guard him when he does that again? And that hesitation is what opens up the floor for everything else that he does. He even took the ball, Jason, on the wing and acted like he was going to shoot a 3, and the defender kind of came out on him. It was like early in the second half, and then he drove to the lane, drove to the rack, and I was like, oh, he's got that in his bag, because because that first 3 put the question mark in everybody's mind of, oh, he can hit this. So when he shoots it, do I have to come out and guard him, or do I hold my ground? That hesitation was enough for him to get enough room, and he was able to go to the rack, get a foul, or go to the rack and pass it off to somebody else for a layup. And I think he had a brilliant game, despite the fact it felt like, there was points where like, oh, we should be getting him the ball more, because things are happening when he has it in his hand.
So a couple things I want to say about Big Pat's game. First of all, I think the stunning thing about the 11-5-5-5, did I get it? 5-5? Yeah.
5-5-5. Yeah. 3 5s. Yeah.
11-5-5-5 game is that none of it was surprising. Like if I say to you, he's going to get 5 blocks, he's going to get 5 assists, you're not going like, wait a second, that's an outlier. It all feels like it's within his normal game at this point. And I want to go back to the preseason and shout out our interview that we did with Evan Miyakawa, who we were like, we had to have this guy on because he said Big Pat was one of the 30 best players in the country. And we were like, wow.
Man, he's right. Man, he's tired of being right.
Yeah. Evan, I think may be correct about that. Big Pat absolutely looks like he is, a fringe All-American at this point, the way he has been playing lately. And to do it against this Florida team that is big. Donald, when we get to the bad, we're going to talk about the rebounding. This Florida team is huge. They are monsters on the front line. They are physical. They are experienced. They are ball hawks. They know where the ball is going. For Pat to have the kind of game he did, battling them defensively, battling them on the boards. Look, I would like that 5 rebounding number to have been higher. Can we get it to like 8 or 10? That would have been a lot better. But it's still, he was going up against one of the best big men front lines he's going to face all year, and really presented lots of problems for them. His ability to go in and out. He hit 2 3-pointers in this game. As I've mentioned before, I have a wager with a fellow Duke fan about Big Pat averaging half a 3-pointer made per game this season. And I was looking like I was in big trouble on this bet just a couple games ago. Suddenly the bet's looking like I'm in decent shape on it.
Well, it's great that you feel comfortable about it, because he hits the first 3 of the game. And so you're like, okay, he's hit his 3 for the game. I don't have to worry about it anymore. But I think I also think, Jason, this is not just Pat. I just want to extrapolate this to the rest of the team. This groundwork for this game, this instant classic, was laid in October when we played at Tennessee. The physicality, you mentioned, the person who mentioned that we're first in the SEC, we can't mention the Tennessee game because apparently that doesn't count. But it does count when you see what we learned from that game in this game, in the Arkansas game, and in the Texas game. The physicality, it didn't feel like we shied away from it. It felt like we embraced it, and it felt like it fueled us to do more. And again, last year, and again, this is no slight to last year's team, but last year there was times where physicality overwhelmed us, and we had to kind of figure out how to get around it. Physicality and intensity in this year's team so far this season has not overwhelmed them because they are prepared for it in October to be able to perform with it in November and December.
All right, let's get to the other big man because we're talking about the physicality, and the most physical player on the Duke team is Cameron.
Talking about
Hoosier.
Cam?
Yeah.
Talking about Cam?
Yeah. Only 29 points.
Sorry, Cam. First of all, Cam, sorry it took us 20 minutes to mention your name.
only 29 points for Cam. I don't know what he's doing wrong.
Yeah.
My goodness, 29 points. 6 rebounds. Again, the rebounding is a story, and we're going to talk about it a little bit later. He was great from 2. You know, he continues to take this notion that he's going to struggle against big, long guys. He was playing like the longest guy in the damn country. 7'8", Shindaloo, you know, and Cam hit 7 out of 12 of his 2-point field goals against this huge team. He missed a lot of threes. Look, he was only 3 of 9 from 3, which is why his efficiency numbers maybe aren't quite as good as you'd like, although 29 points on 21 shots, that's not bad efficiency. You'll take that any day of the week. But yeah, I thought Cam just did a fabulous job. And speaking of the bigs, I want to mention Maliq because last game, Donald, we talked about the fact that, Dame Sarr sort of took a lesser role and Nick Hamenia was the guy who was playing a lot more. And I even said on our preview, I was like, I won't be entirely shocked if Nick moves into the starting lineup. Lo and behold, there's Nick Hamenia in the starting lineup. But down the stretch, Duke was going really big to counter the really big Florida team, and it was Maliq Brown playing alongside Cam and Pat with Slim and Cephas. That's a monster lineup that Duke was rolling out there, and we had to prevent Florida from continuing to get those offensive rebounds.
And, it's not just that. I think in the case of Maliq, right, Nick starts the game. He unfortunately, rolls his ankle 2 minutes and 15 seconds into the game. He had to come out. He had to get retaped. He ended up, getting back into the game, but he was largely ineffective because of that. I think this was also a case of Maliq Brown saying, I'm a leader. I'm one of the veterans on this team. I'm one of the, the experienced guys, one of the oldest guy on the team, or one of the oldest guys on the team. Get on my back. Let's go. This is how we need to play. And he's done that from time to time when he's asked of it. But this was a game where I don't feel like he was asked to be that guy. He said, this game needs this Maliq Brown out of it. And he was able to deliver in that regard. The fact that he had those rebounds, and there was a couple, I felt like every rebound he got, and again, we'll talk about the rebounding later, but it felt like every rebound he got was super important for that moment. The block that he had was super important for that moment. Might have been a goaltending, probably was a goaltending. Don't care.
It was. It's fine.
Don't care. But also the steals, right? And as we mentioned, the thing that will not ever be quantified except when Duke decides to display it, the deflections. He was able to, there was one deflection where he deflected it all the way into the backcourt and was like, no, go get the ball and come back and try that, reset that offense again. He didn't even try to go after it. He just said, go back that way because that's time off the clock that you won't get back. And so I'm really, I think we're really fortunate that we have Maliq Brown in this lineup to kind of be a barometer of sorts. Yeah, he's going to provide defense. Yeah, he's going to provide some offense. Yeah, he's going to provide some rebounding. But it's also when he provides it and how he provides it that really helps this team go. And I think tonight, above all, his leadership was present. And I could feel it in the way that he played, that he wasn't playing the way that he plays because that's just what he does. He said, this team needs some leadership right now. This team needs some physicality right now. I'm here to provide it.
Yeah, and by the way, Maliq Brown played, he plays 19 minutes. It's worth it. Nick Hamenia played 12 or 13 minutes. Dame Sarr played 18. Maliq Brown played 19. A lot of Maliq's minutes were at the 3. And it's worth noting that Maliq Brown tied Cameron Boozer for the team lead in rebounds. They both had 6 rebounds. So in his limited minutes, Maliq was doing the thing Duke needs him to do in a game like this: get those rebounds and get deflections and get block shots. You know, do a little bit of all of it. Look, hey, I want to move on to Isaiah Evans.
Please do, because that's my next one.
Yeah. Look, obviously, he hits the game-winning shot. Yes. So, of course, he's in the good. But I want to mention as well, in a game where he was missing his threes, he was 0 of 7 from 3 until he hit that last one, Isaiah found other ways to impact the game. He was 4 of 6, Isaiah was, on 2-point field goals. I mean, in a game where he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn from 3, he still ends up as Duke's second leading scorer with 13 points in a game where points were hard to come by for guys not named Cameron Boozer. And the other thing about Isaiah was did you notice he had 5 block shots, Donald?
Block party. And they were all, and Jason, all of them were like, Jason, I love this kind of block because this is what I used to do when I was young. Because look, I'm 5'9". Ain't nobody stepping to me and saying, oh, he's going to block my stuff. But the sweeping block from behind.
They were all from behind.
They were all from behind.
Yeah.
That is a textbook block that I learned when I was in middle school and took that. And I take that today, where you let a guy kind of go past you. And if you have like a little bit of length in your arms, you go, yeah, go past me. And, oh, yeah, you're open. Yeah, take that shot. Black, bam. And I think for him, he got so good at it that it almost like when Florida went past, they almost forgot that he was behind him. There was also one of those where he wasn't actually behind the guy. Like it was like, I think it was Caden Boozer, like it got around Caden Boozer, and all of a sudden the guy's like, oh, I got behind Caden Boozer. He's not going to block my shot. I'm going to go for the layup. And all of a sudden Slim came in for the wing, like, ha, God. And like, and he was just gone. I think that part of his game is still yet to be fully untapped. And I think what's better about him this year than last year is that part of his game is starting to be discovered. The fact that he can block shots, the fact that he can be on defense. Remember last year we were like, yo man, come in and shoot your threes. And if you can't make them, we're going to check you out and we'll bring somebody else in. Now he's staying in because his defense is good enough that he can keep guys in front of him. And if he happens to let somebody pass him, it's not over yet. He does not finish until that ball is out of play or going the other way.
Two last things I have in the good. I wanted to first of all mention that in a really competitive game, in a single possession game, that Darren Harris was much more in the rotation than he was against Arkansas.
Yeah,
Darren Harris
I noticed he played earlier.
Yeah, and Darren had 9 minutes. And by the way, he played second half minutes and like second half of the second half, like final 10-minute of the game kind of minutes. When this was a really tight contest, Darren had moments. He didn't get his shot off. We know he can. We know he will. But he had some nice hustle plays. He had some good rebounds, important rebounds. He just got himself involved a lot. He had one bad turnover. He was about to rise up and hit that 3. I'm telling you, Darren was going to rise up and hit that 3, and he just lost the ball in that moment. And it's a real pity. But I really love the fact, like Duke played 9 guys in this game, and we know that we have 9 guys who can play. And I love that Shire didn't, sort of go to the instinct of I've only got 7. Like he gave Caden chances. He gave Darren chances, and they deserve minutes. They deserve chances. And speaking of Shire, my last thing I wanted to mention, Florida went on a run, Donald, at one point. This was a game of runs. Duke had a 17-2 run at one point in the first half, and Florida had a 14-2 run in the second half. In the middle of that 14-2 run, like I think they reeled off like 9 points in a row or something like that. There was a timeout, and coming out of that timeout, John Shire does what he does super, super well. He called an incredible inbounds play. It wasn't literally off the inbounds. It was that we got the ball in bounds and then we ran the play. And it was a beautiful back screen that freed up Maliq Brown for a wide open dunk off a pass from Nick Himenia. You could tell, if you really go, folks, if you want, go back on your DVR, watch that play, watch it a couple times. Duke knows exactly what they're doing on that play from the moment the ball is handed to the guy inbounding the ball. And that is 100% John Shire drawing up something in the huddle saying, look, we're in some trouble. Things aren't working out. We're not getting the shots we need. Let's make sure we get a good one on this possession. How about, guys, let's do this. And it works. And this is just one of the many ways I think that Jon Scheyer is showing himself to be one of the best minds in the business. Not young minds, just period. One of the best coaches out there.
Jason, I'm glad you mentioned Jon Scheyer because I wanted to end the good with him and the rest of the coaching staff. They were ready for this game. They understood that this game was going to have its ebbs and flows, that everything wasn't going to go perfect. And it felt like most of the time when they needed to make a call, they made the right one. And they were coaching their asses off. Like, you could see times when the ball was going down the floor and you saw 3 or 4 coaches up on, up off the bench telling guys what to do, where to be, what the play was, all these different things. On defense, the amount of times that the referee had to kind of like wave at them to sit down, like all y'all are standing, and the coaches were still like giving directions, telling guys where to be or telling guys what was behind them. It was a masterclass of not just the head coach. And I think when it comes to that, Golden versus Scheyer, edge went to Scheyer, like in the amount of plays called and the amount of moments that he was able to live up to. But when it comes to coaching staff versus coaching staff, man, I'm glad we had our coaching staff tonight because I thought they coached brilliantly. Even when there was ruts, they mentioned that 14-2 run, you could see guys active, you could see guys energetic, you could see guys telling these guys what was in front of them that they couldn't see, because those are the little details that help you win a game like this. This game is one of the reasons why these guys came to Duke. And I'm not talking about just the players, it's the coaches too. The coaches want to coach in games like this, and I thought they played very well. So credit to the coaching staff for that. Jason, let's take a quick break. On the other side, we're going to talk about the things to improve in this game. There's a lot of things that we could talk about, and we'll get to our play of the game. There's a couple of options, a few options maybe. Stick around to figure out which one we pick.
Hey, the holidays are almost here, and if you have names still on your list, don't panic. Uncommon Goods makes holiday shopping stress-free and joyful. With thousands of one-of-a-kind gifts you can't find anywhere else, you'll discover presents that feel meaningful and personal, never rushed or last minute.
Uncommon Goods has something for everyone, from moms and dads to kids and teens, from book lovers and sports fans to foodies, mixologists, and gardeners. You'll find unforgettable gifts that are anything but ordinary. And perhaps most importantly, you're supporting artists and small independent businesses. Every purchase is a chance to choose something remarkable and feel good about where your money goes.
Look, so don't wait. Make this holiday of the year you give something truly unforgettable. To get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/DukeBB. That's uncommongoods.com/DukeBB and get 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods. We're all out of the ordinary.
Okay, Chad. Today you're gonna drive the all-electric Toyota BZ.
But my electric vehicle phobia. I'm not ready, Dr. Ross.
I believe in you.
Oh my gosh. We're inside it.
Try to take deep breaths, okay?
The ventilated seats, they're touching me.
You can do this, Chad. Drive the car. How do you feel, Chad?
I feel cured. Woohoo! I'm doing it!
The all-electric BZ. One drive can change your mind. Toyota. Let's go places.
We're only a few weeks in, and the season is already wild. Stars are going off, freshmen are making noise, and the action doesn't stop. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is where you can get in on all of it for pro and college basketball.
Yeah, and don't forget the holiday tournaments and the Emirates NBA Cup. Big moments, big matchups, and a whole lot on the line. Don't miss out. Jump in and bet on the action today.
So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code DukeBB. That's code DUKEBB. Bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
As a contractor, I don't pay for materials I don't use. So why would I pay for stuff I don't need in my mobile plan? That's why my Biz plan from Verizon Business is so perfect. Now I can choose exactly what I want, and I only pay for what I need.
Right now, with my Biz plan, get our best price, as low as $25 a line. Visit verizon.com/business to get started today. New lines only. Price per month with 5+ lines. Includes auto pay and paper-free billing and promotional discount. Taxes, fees, economic adjustment charge. Applicable add-ons, prices, and terms apply. Guarantee applies to base monthly rate and stated discounts only. Add-on prices additional. Offers in January 5th, 2026.
Hello, I'm Diane Morgan. If you know who I am, you know who I am. If you don't, who cares? I'm here to explain Italian Time, a holiday phenomenon where Italians throw away their clocks and gather for eternity with San Pellegrino. I've been at this party so long that I've eaten 5 courses, hugged someone's grandma twice, and been offered a job in the family restaurant. So this holiday season, make sure to bring enough San Pellegrino to last you through the meal, the after meal, and the entire goodbye ritual. San Pellegrino, holiday on Italian Time.
All right, we back and we shift our attention to the things to improve. Jason, let's start with the rebounding.
Yeah, I mean, Florida's offensive rebounds were a problem like from the get-go. I think opening possession, they're getting offensive rebounds left and right. It was full credit to them. This is a Florida team that fights so hard on the boards. Thomas Hawk. Dude's a ball hawk is what he is. He just seems to know where the ball is going. He had an incredible game against Duke. They ended up, I can't even believe, as good as Duke has been, like, dominant on the boards in virtually every game this season. We get out rebounded by 11, 44-33. Florida had, Donald, wait for the number, 20 offensive rebounds. Duke only had 22 defensive rebounds. Florida was almost as likely to get the ball when they missed it as we were. That is a huge problem. But you know what, Donald? What's kind of amazing? They only outscored us 15-8 on second chance points. They would get those offensive rebounds, but we continued to fight, continued to battle. I think a lot of Duke's blocked shots were off those offensive rebounds.
Yep.
And so, craziest stat in the game, like I said, they outscore us 15-8 on second chance points. Duke wins points in the paint, 34-32. Playing arguably the best front line in the country, Duke wins points in the paint in a game where we needed every damn point we could find.
When you talk about physicality, intensity, it was never more present than in the rebounding and that trench war that we kind of had, as you mentioned. The fact that they got 20 offensive rebounds to our 22 defensive rebounds. That trench war was evident all game. And it wasn't like, again, like you said, it wasn't like they were killing us on them, but it felt like we wanted to get out of there. We're like, if we can get this rebound, we'll go the other way. The one section of this game where I thought that we did great with rebounding was that 17-2 run that we had, where they would get one, they would miss, they would only get one crack at the apple, and we would go the other way and we would get a basket. There was a lot of those moments in that little run. But for the rest of the game, it felt like Florida was prolonging their time down on the offensive end. And thankfully, it didn't bother us as much because they weren't making a lot of those shots, as you mentioned. But it still was like, that was where the physicality, intensity was most present. And that's what made for the classicness of this game, in my opinion, because the fact that both teams, you could tell that despite the fact that Florida is now 5-3, they were 5-2 entering this game, it didn't feel like they were struggling, right? It felt like they were missing their shots, but they were getting opportunities. We were getting our opportunities. We would cash in on them. They would cash in on theirs. It was a back and forth game. We would go on a run. They would go on a run. The rebounding war was what prolonged this game and made it the classic that it was.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about shot selection, by the way. I think that Duke's first 7 shots were all from 3. I'm not going to go back and look and say, oh, that one was bad and this one was good. But you just got to have a little more variety to your game. I think we settled for 3-pointers too much, and we did not hit them in this game. On the game, Duke hits just 7 of 26 threes. That's just under 27%. By the way, we were at 24% until a certain someone hit a certain shot with 30 seconds left. So we were less than 25% on our 3-pointers. It was really, by the way, it was like a tale of 2 halves. In the first half, Duke hit 52% of their shots, almost 36% of our threes. That's great. In the second half, we hit just 37.9, just under 38%, and we were just 16% on our threes. And then the other thing related to that shooting, Donald, the free throws. We've talked about this. This team's gonna, it's scary. Duke was just 62.5% from the free throw line, and I'm just gonna say it. Caleb Foster, you've been in this program a long time. You have more time in a Duke uniform than anyone else on that team, dude. You cannot miss the front end of a 1-on-1 with less than 2 seconds left in a game like this. You just can't. Don't do it, man. It's please knock down those free throws in the final 2 seconds. CFOS, Duke's got the free throws. If we're going to play single possession games and win them, get the damn free throws to go in the basket, guys.
I'm not going to beat up Caleb Foster more than he's probably beating up himself for those free throws, but I would just say there are a few less fingernails on the fingers of people that are Duke fans around this country because of that front end of the 1-on-1 and just, again, the free throw shooting in general. I think, Jason, the other thing, we talked a lot about how our bench needs to be active in this game. They didn't feel like they were very effective. And again, we kind of had to throw them into the fold a little bit quicker because of the fact that Nick Minia injured himself a couple minutes into the game, and he came back in, but it felt like the rotations were a little bit out of sorts for a while because of that. I think we want to have it where, and again, this might be credit to Florida in the sense that they were able to be physical with our guys, and we took some moments where we had to figure out how to tackle them inside. I know we beat them in the inside the paint, but it wasn't always success down there. We missed a few bunnies because of the fact that they were long. We had to kind of figure out a way to get around them. We were able to do that. And I think that run was incredible when it came to how well we were able to figure it out and put it together. And I was hoping that would continue for the rest of the game. But Florida is the defending national champions for a reason. And they have guys on their roster who have seen the promised land. They know what it's like to play in these games. And I will not be surprised we see them in the NCAA tournament once again. And this is another classic game like this. I think this is a game where it's great that we played Florida before we go to the Breslin Center on Saturday, because this physicality is going to translate to Saturday. I know we'll talk about that later, but this was a game where it took a while for us to kind of figure out what Florida was presenting us and how to defeat it. But I'm glad we figured it out.
Yeah. Hey, a couple of things I want to mention in the things to work on. First of all, it's worth noting. I thought, I don't know about you, I thought the flagrant one on Maliq Brown was an appropriate call. Look, we come on here and we criticize the refs sometimes. It wasn't egregious. It wasn't, I don't think he was trying to hurt anybody, but I think it was the proper call by the officials. I also think that the flagrant one they called on Hoch, whatever, at a certain point in the game, a little bit later in the game. I thought that also was a deserved flagrant one. You got to be careful about arms, elbows, body parts up around guys' heads and shoulders and such. Concussions are a serious thing. You don't want that to happen.
So Jason, this is a great point because I was watching the game without sound, so we didn't get the explanations that we have. So hopefully you can answer this for me. On the second one, on Ho's flagrant one on with the elbow on Big Pat, that was on a review, and you could tell, and they called the foul on Big Pat, but when you look at the review, Big Pat didn't actually touch him. It was the elbow that was the only foul there. What did they say about that for people like me who maybe be watching without sound?
Sure. Well, you can't reverse a foul call once you've already called it. Like they don't go to the monitor to review whether or not there was a foul called. The foul has been called. It is called. It is not something that's up for review.
They can only escalate it.
Yes. What they did was they reviewed, what else happened on that play. They determined that Pat fouled him, in real time, and that cannot be overturned. So they're looking at what else happened on that play, and what they determined was that Hall. What? By the way, pronounce his last name for me?
I think it's Ho.
Ho?
I had no sound, so I had no sound, so I can't tell you.
Is he a Ho? Oh boy. Okay. In any event,
no,
Hawk.
It's not Lane Kiffin.
Oh my God. In any event, they determined that Hawk had in fact hit him. And so they determined that part was flagrant. Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah. I think with both of those calls, I think the Maliq call, I'm sitting at the bar. I'm like, I don't know what he did wrong there, because the replays showed, him reaching in for the tie up, right? And I'm thinking, okay, they're probably just calling it a tie up. And then
but he kind of threw his body on the guy a little bit as well.
Yeah. And it was one of those things where I'm like, okay, sure. That's whatever, right? But the other call was the question I had. So thank you for that.
Okay. As I wrap up the things that I saw that, bad, whatever, however you want to call them. I did think that Caleb Foster, I like that he was aggressive again. We saw in the last game, Caleb Foster was really aggressive. He wasn't quite as aggressive, but I like an aggressive Caleb Foster because I really believe in Caleb. But only hitting 2 out of 7 shots. If you're going to be aggressive, Caleb, maybe figure out a way to finish those shots off. And then the last thing I wanted to mention was down the stretch, and there were a couple of possessions where Florida was playing a zone. Duke needs to do a better job and they were playing zone, by the way, because they were like, we're just going to pack the lane and make sure that Cameron Boozer doesn't get one of those shots from 7 feet that he's been hitting left and right. No matter what we do, even putting 7-8 Chindaloo on him, we can't stop him from hitting those shots. So let's go ahead and pack the lane a little bit. So they went zone. I think Duke needs to do a better job of identifying that and then identifying the right plays out of it. On the second to last possession, Florida goes zone, and Duke had Big Pat take a 3. I am the biggest Big Pat 3 defender out there. Love my Big Pat.
Stepped back
threes.
to take it too, Jason.
I'm sorry.
He stepped back to take it. He was like 2 feet, 3 feet inside, and he said, "Oh, I got this." And he kind of took 2 dribbles back and then shot it. And I was like, again, I think I'm with him. Like, yo, Big Pat, early in the game, cool with that. Maybe let's figure out a way to get the ball to somebody else and work the ball around for a better shot.
Yeah, my point was going to be against a zone where they're trying to keep you out of the middle. Maybe don't fall into their trap by having your center shooting a step back 3. That's just with 1 minute left to go, just like Anyway, that's all I have in the bad, Donald.
I was going to say that the frustration we have with that play is not in Pat taking that shot, because we like him taking that shot. We know he can make that shot. It's the timing of the shot. And I think for me, it was he took 2 dribbles to step back and take the shot, as opposed to maybe going forward into the zone where he could, again, he was our leading assist maker tonight. So he could have gone in and maybe made a play that way. But it's interesting. And I think it's also compounded by the fact that Florida went down and Boogie Flan hits one of his 3s, and I'm like, oh, okay. So now they have the lead, and he's doing this. So let's get to play of the game, Jason. There are a couple that we could do.
No, wait, hold on. The play of the game is Isaiah Evans.
I love Isaiah Thomas. Sounds great. Bye.
Play of the game is Isaiah Evans hitting the 3-pointer. There's no question about that. That's the play of the game. Period. End of story. That said, I want to shout out again. Isaiah's 3, Isaiah's game winner, play of the game. I want to shout out the play Maliq Brown had with 3 minutes left, where he was stalking Klabzar like a lion tracking a gazelle and makes a great block and somehow saves the ball as well. I was so hoping that Duke was going to take that down and score and even get fouled, do anything. Unfortunately, we didn't, because I was like, then it would be a no-brainer play of the game. But I still make it my, sort of play 1A of the game, just because it was such a remarkable play. The remarkable part of it, of course, was him spiking The spike block that he then saves before going out of bounds. Incredible play by Maliq Brown.
I will also say my play of the game is Slim's game-winning three, but I will shout out two other plays, which are the plays that came after that three. Caleb Foster tipping the ball away, diving on and forcing the turnover and getting the foul. I know he didn't make the free throw.
And by the way,
that play was great.
By the way, the thing about that play is that is a super smart, like clock in your head kind of play.
Yeah.
Cam and Caleb especially sort of, at that point they know time's running out and it is time to put Florida in scramble mode. And by going to do that double, now they end up getting the turnover, which is great. But I think that the rationale there was Florida's
only 2 seconds left.
Yeah, the clock's almost done. Let's just go get on this guy and force him to do something because he doesn't have time to adjust to the double team, and it caused a turnover.
Yeah, and I think after that, I mean, look, we got to give an honorable mention to Maliq Brown's tip deflection right at the end there, because again, we've seen those plays. We've seen teams go, at the last minute, last second of the game and do that long pass. Jason, you were at a game where a famous one happened, where somebody didn't defend the inbounder. I think you were right there. I'm not sure which game that might have been, but
yep,
go look it up, ladies and gentlemen. But this was a game where it came down to those details and putting Maliq Brown on the ball. That's a detail that should be noted. But the fact that we put him on the ball to do exactly what he did, to deflect the ball. And like I said, it was to the point where if you had told me that John Shire had sit there with a clipboard with the whiteboard during the timeout and said, "Okay, guys, here's our play for defense," and he just wrote Maliq tipped the ball, and he said that is our play right there. The fact that he executed it brilliantly, you could tell that was exactly what they wanted, because again, John Shire almost walked towards the opposing team's dressing room, locker room, in celebration before he realized that the game was over. He had to go shake hands with the other team. So hats off to those plays. Again, 67-66, a huge win by our Blue Devils.
Yeah. Hey, I got one thing I want to mention before we get out of here. We're going to, in the next couple of days, we're going to do a preview of the game against Michigan State. And I know there are people who, even right now, I haven't looked at my inbox, but I can tell there are people who are right now sending us more headlines and the such. We'll look, Donald. If you really get a great one, if there is a truly brilliant one, we'll mention it. We'll do a couple more headlines, perhaps.
Yep.
When we do that preview episode. And the other thing I want to mention is we don't have time right here, right now to get into the rest of the ACC-SEC challenge. I don't even know any other scores. The only score I know is the Duke score, but we'll get into discussing the challenge as well. I just want to preview what's coming up this week. The next episode won't just be a Michigan State preview. It's going to be challenge stuff and also your best headlines from this game.
We're in a unique position here because usually we're like one of the last games of the challenge, and we were like the first game of the challenge. So we get to look and watch for everybody else. That will do it for this episode of the Duke Basketball Roundup. As Jason mentioned, we'll be back later on this week. We're going to talk about the ACC-SEC challenge. We're going to review more of your headlines. We're going to preview the football game that's on Saturday. Shout out to the Duke women's soccer. They're going to the College Cup this Friday in Kansas City. Go get that national championship. And, of course, the Duke Sparty game that will be at the Breslin Center on Saturday. We're going to talk about as much of that as we possibly can.
What a weekend. Oh, my God.
This is, someone asked if this is the greatest weekend in Duke sports in a long time. It's up there. The fact that we got two teams going for titles, whether it be ACC or national. We have a huge game at the Breslin Center. I haven't even dove into all the other sports and what might be going on there with the winter sports, but it's going to be a doozy. Everybody stay strapped. DUBRpodcast@gmail.com. Get your headlines in. Even though you're listening to this right now, we might still review them. Until then, he's Jason. I'm Donald. For our Duke men's basketball team, this is the DBR podcast. It is now time for the Duke Band to play us out, take us into the rest of the week.